G'day, it's Mark and welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing our series on the history of Ford Falcon, and today's model is the XY, probably the most revered of all the Falcon models and probably the most revered muscle car in Australian history, with the GEHO Phase 3 legendary car that was the fastest production car, four-door production car in the world at one stage. Although I know people that like Mercedes-Benz 6.3s argue with that, but I think from an acceleration point of view, it's quicker than that car. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be a bit of a debate. But make sure you check out the full series of the Falcon history: Falcon XK, Falcon XL, XM, XP, XR, XT, XW, and now the latest XY. So let's get stuck into it. So the XY Falcon was a full-size family car produced by Ford Australia from 1970 to 1972. And it was the fourth and the last iteration of the second generation of Falcon that Ford Australia released. It was released in October 1970 and produced to March 1972. And the range consisted of the Ford Falcon Sedan, the Ford Falcon Wagon, the Falcon 500 Sedan, the Falcon 500 Wagon, the Futura Sedan, the Fairmont Sedan, the Fairmont Wagon, the Falcon GT, the Falcon Utility, the Falcon Van, the Falcon 500 Utility, and there was also a limited run of four-wheel drive utilities as well, which are really super interesting. And of course, the range-topping legendary Falcon GT-HO. And as with XW, a GS Rally Pack was an option on the Falcon 500, the Futura, and the Fairmont in sedan and wagon formats. Obviously, there was no Futura wagon. There were changes to the engines. There was a new 200 cubic inch 3.3 litre 6 and a 4.1 litre 250 cubic inch inline six-cylinder engines. And they replaced the previous sixes that were offered in the earlier XW model. There was also a 302 V8 and a 351 V8. And they were carried over from the previous XW models. The XY GT had the 300 horsepower, 351 cubic inch V8, 4V for Ford Venturi. Production of the XY Falcon range totaled 118,666 vehicles. There were 1,557 XY Falcon GTs and 300 XY Falcon GT-HOs. The XY also offered a range of really cool options like a factory sunroof, integrated air conditioning, the T-bar automatic, factory mag wheels with red line tyres. Really was a tremendous looking package when you add all these things together, and the cars with these options, particularly the V8s now, are worth a lot of money. The XY GT rolled off the line in late 1970, and that was followed in 1971 with the all-time classic GTHO Phase 3, and that had between 350 and 380 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque. And as I said earlier, it was reputed to be the world's fastest four-door production car. Quite an achievement for little old Ford Australia. A really unique feature on the XY GT was that fantastic shaker. It was such an amazing looking piece of kit, and that was influenced directly from the US market, where you could buy Mach 1 Mustangs and Ford Torinos and those types of vehicles with the shaker, although I believe our shaker was a slightly different design. And of course, the Falcon GTs were available in a wide range of colours, the most popular colour being Vermilion Fire. And there were 324 of those made, 256 GTs and 68 GTHOs. The Falcon GTHO Phase 3 succeeded in an outright win at Bathurst, the Bathurst 500, and also secured the 1973 Australian Touring Car Championship title. And in both cases, the cars were driven by the legendary Alan Moffat. Top guy. Now, a really fascinating model in the Falcon XY history was the 4x4 ute. The Australian Army was using Land Rovers, and they're only powered by 4 cylinders. They were deemed to be underpowered for what was required. So according to Howard Marsden, who headed up Ford Special Vehicles at the time, he said that there was a need for a more powerful alternative, and Ford Australia felt that they could fit the bill by producing a 4-wheel drive, 6-cylinder powered utility. And that was produced out of their Brisbane plant, where they also worked on their F-Series trucks. So they felt that they could potentially use some of those elements in the production of these vehicles. What really set it off, though, was the collaboration between Ford and Willys Motors. That was the local importer of Jeeps, who supplied complete engines and other numerous Falcon parts like clutches and pedal assemblies that were required for Jeeps. So what they did was they basically used the existing 6-cylinder Falcon ute, and then they applied that across to a Jeep drivetrain and hardware in terms of transmission and so on, to really create a 4-wheel drive Falcon ute. They did have some challenges. For example, the mounting points for front leaf springs, and also make sure there was enough clearance between the front axles and the engine sump and exhaust system to allow for adequate suspension travel. And the simple solution was to make the new engine mounts that slanted the engine to the right by several degrees. The Falcon 4.1 6-cylinder engine had plenty of torque and power on tap to handle the requirements. There was a Spicer Model 20 2-speed transfer case mounted on the floor to get the power down. Ford also developed a powerful 800-pound PTO winch. The Falcon had impressive performance and was able to tackle approach and departure angles and a lateral tilt angle of up to 45 degrees. Had impressive cross-country performance and high torque. But unfortunately, the Australian Army made it clear that while the performance of the vehicle was excellent, they didn't feel that it was up to tackling battlefield extreme conditions without the proven strength and durability of a traditional body-on-frame construction. So that's where it died. But all was not lost, because Ford felt that there was a definite market there for the private sector, farmers and so on, who were interested in a 4-wheel drive ute. There were some real challenges, though, because the amount of flex in the body was creating some serious chassis issues that required reinforcing. Ford updated the axles to a heavier Dana unit, and the problem with that was, though, that there were serious delays in receiving those, and by this stage, the XY was nearing the end of its model life, and the XA was due out. So Ford had put aside 432 ute bodies to be made into these 4-wheel drive utes, but then they were concerned that the XA models were going to be on the market and it'd be very hard to sell. But they still pushed ahead regardless, and some of these ute bodies were literally at the Brisbane plant for up to a year after they were built before being converted to 4-wheel drive utes. So anyway, that's a bit of a history on that particular model, but a fascinating piece of history, and they're worth quite a lot of money. So anyway, that's a bit of a history on the Falcon XY model. I could go into other elements. Some were exported to South Africa, for example, as GT Fairmonts. Here's a picture here. But well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. Is the XY your favourite model Falcon? What do you think? Is the XY GTHO the most legendary muscle car in Australian history? Hit that subscribe button there to make sure you don't miss an episode. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.
That's how a great road car is built. New Falcon, built with more road-hugging strength than any competitor, with more built-in class, with new, higher-performing sixes. Whichever Falcon you drive, you've got a great road car. Built that way, from the wheels up. New Falcon. Drive one and feel the difference. Going forward is the going thing.